So I did teach at the University of Louisville, and they did want to call me Dr. Doctor all the time. But David is what I insisted on. So the process that I've observed this morning is really familiar because it's similar to the process that we have followed in collaborating with the Department of Commerce, Office of Science, Technology, and Innovation since early 2018. And I'll take you through a little bit of that. That process is focused on energy innovation. And you may wonder now, how does energy innovation have nexus with what we're working on today? Let me just ask you, how much energy research do you think is focused on putting more carbon in the environment? None of it. How many new products are being developed where people say, I've got a great way of putting more carbon in the environment? None of it. So literally all of our innovation by default is geared toward low carbon or no carbon activity. So while we're focusing on value production and I'm going to direct my remarks towards North Carolina. This was a Southeast Energy Initiative. But with regard to North Carolina, if we focus on creating more value by focusing on innovation, we're going to produce less carbon also as a result of it. So very quickly, E4 Carolinas is a trade association focused on energy companies and organizations in the Carolinas. We work in 5 areas. I will offer a disclaimer that our membership is so diverse. We have a large variety of companies and organizations representing every energy sector. We could never agree on policy advocacy. So we're an information provider both ways when it comes to policy. So this question with regard to energy innovation leadership started back a little more than 2 years ago. And E4 Carolinas asked the question of the Department of Commerce. We said, we perceive that we have really an extraordinary number of energy leadership categories. Why aren't we recognized here in the Carolinas as an energy leader, if not the energy innovation leader? And I said, good question. So here's some of the data points that prompted that question. When you take a look at energy research at our universities and our institutes, you see here that we have 10 organizations that are substantially involved in energy research. There are more. I'm always reluctant to put a slide up that has names for fear of leaving somebody out and offending somebody. But when you look through here, you can kind of check each one and say, oh yeah, I know they're involved in a great deal of energy research activity. So in fact, if you take this state slide and compare it against other state slides, you'll find California and New York are the only 2 that compare with this. Okay? So why aren't we regarded in the same class? Solar energy, I'm going to pause here for a moment. I think everybody's familiar with the idea that North Carolina is number 2. I think we're still number 2, aren't we, Richard? Number 2. But the yellow dots there depict the extent of solar energy development in North Carolina. How many grid-scale solar installations do you think we had 10 years ago? Now this is according to the Energy Information Administration's Form 860, Schedule 3, which is authoritative here. How many?
5.
Oh, that's pretty close. 10 years ago, we had 8. No, we had 4. We had 4. So 5 was real close. And 2010, we had 7. 2011, we had 14. How many do we have now? Anybody take a guess?
316.
On December 31, 2018, when the 2018 reporting finished, 560. 560. How many do you think South Carolina had during the same period? 40. Now, why is that? It's policy and incentives, and that's what we're talking about today. So when we talk about creating a plan for low carbon to promote carbon reduction, this is what we can do. In 10 years, North Carolina created an industry. We have just about 4 gigawatts of solar. How many people know Richard may know this, when House Bill, when all legislation and incentives were put together and they projected how much solar we might create as a result of this, what do you think it was? Bob probably knows too.
It was low. It was really low because wind was going to be the
With an asterisk, said not significant.
Yeah, it was like about 1/20th of what we had. So I mean, we're really good in North Carolina at conceiving a plan and creating the incentives and making things happen. So we can do this, right? We can do this. So with regard to leadership, back on course here, nuclear. In the Carolinas, we have the largest concentration of nuclear service companies in the United States. We're a nuclear leader. With regard to energy manufacturing, engineering, procurement, construction, we have manufacturers here, and this is about 1/10 the logos that should be on this slide. That gets two credit. We have manufacturers here, and engineering, procurement, and construction companies that build things for the world. They're name brands around the world. And there's an unusual concentration here in North Carolina and South Carolina. So, and you know, I'm leaving some things out. So for example, smart grid, I think those of you that are in Triangle know that this is the nation's largest concentration of smart grid companies here. RTI International a couple years ago identified 100 plus. With regard to energy storage, the Charlotte region, Western North Carolina, is regarded as one of the top 5 storage clusters. There's about 24 companies and organizations that are clustered over in that area that are involved in the energy storage industry. So you look at all that and you say, why aren't we recognized as a national leader? So we collaborated with the Office of Science, Technology, and Innovation a couple of years ago and asked that question, and the result is what you see on this slide. The solid colored lines are what people said, this is what we believe now based upon current knowledge. And you'll see that with regard to state level leadership in the region, they regarded us as a leader. Nationally, we were not regarded as a leader, regarded as a follower. And globally, you can take a look at it. Nobody said, oh yeah, you're a global leader. But then we said, what do you think the potential is based upon what you see in the Carolinas right now? And the kind of translucent lines are what resulted, and you see that they said definitely the Carolinas has the potential to be a national leader, and about 1/3 of the people thought that we should be a global leader. So that prompted us to some activity. And the activity, a lot like what you're experiencing right now, the report said convene stakeholders, establish a directory of energy resources, report on the stakeholder recommendations. So we did that. We organized a group, steering committee. The steering committee said, they basically designed the process, a lot like what you're experiencing right now. And we convened 50 plus energy professionals. They met twice. A number of them are here. If you participate in this process, let's see your hand. So there's maybe about 10 people in the room. Now, what you'll see in a bit is there's some cross-pollination here. So we divided into 5 working groups. The 5 working groups took on 12 issues. And they worked for about 3 months with whatever resources they chose that they needed to pursue those 12 issues. And they came back together earlier this year at a solutions summit. And they identified 12 solutions for their 12 issues. Now, we're progressing through with the plan. David Kaiser's in the back. David, he is the plan editor. We are finishing the draft up this month. It'll get rolled out to the 50 delegates. They'll have a chance to input. We'll bring it back in sometime late September, about the same time that this plan is progressing. We'll have the energy innovation plan ready. So here are the 12 things that were identified. And you'll find some similarities there. The plan identified 4 next steps and 8 sustaining steps. Create an energy innovation asset inventory. You'll find that in the listing of initiatives that you've been looking at your tables today. Create a forum for energy leadership and vision. Now, these next, I think, are particularly important because what we found in doing our work is that collectively, the energy professionals in the Carolinas didn't believe the story. They didn't have a cohesive story, and they didn't believe a story about energy leadership. So part of our work is getting ourselves to believe that we are an energy leader and can be an energy leader with regard to energy innovation. We also found that we're fairly siloed. So if you think about your work, how many of you came here today and you knew everybody in the room? Probably nobody did. I don't. But everybody in here is potentially part of the solution that you're working on today. It was the same with regard to our initiative. So fostering energy sector collaboration becomes important, connecting those dots. So the first 4 steps we said is know what you have, connect the dots, foster that collaboration, identify leaders who can say, we're going this way, this is what we need to do, and then develop a brand that everybody can basically say, this is who we are and this is what we do. Then the sustaining steps were to be able to measure our progress. So metrics, assessing the workforce. So if you're creating innovation activity and you don't have the people to fuel that, just like the clean energy initiative that you're working on here, you'll fall short of your objective. So workforce is something also that you see on your sheets. Support energy innovation with market signals. Again, that's one that you'll find on your sheets. If people are going to create something that's going to benefit the economy, they've got to understand whether there's value in what they're doing and they can pursue it economically. And again, you'll find that is one of your initiatives that you've considered. Foster energy entrepreneurship, that's another one that you're looking at. Ensure transmission distribution system resiliency and security. It showed up as one of our priorities for a different reason. We look at the grid as an opportunity to showcase the energy innovation that occurs here locally. You're looking at it from the standpoint of facilitating carbon reduction, but we see it as a point for showcasing the innovation activity we have. Collaboration between community colleges and universities, and I would encourage this group to consider that also. As we looked at the colleges and universities, we found them to be an amazing resource for creating energy intellectual property and innovation that is not well connected with industry and with the delivery of a lot of the actual products that can occur with the community colleges, and then increase consumer awareness. And I saw that that's an area that you're also considering. So those were the 12 items that came out of the activity that we pursued for the last 24 months. So where we are now, drafting a plan. It'll be out September 2019. Now, our plan is not one that we turn over to the General Assembly or to an organization. It's one that we have to work with a number of organizations to give them room and to facilitate its implementation. So we don't have a direct channel to say, here's the results, now let's go implement. So we're going to be involving the 50 delegates that were involved in our issues and our solutions summit to help develop the implementation for the plan that's been drafted. And then we'll be looking for funding from various sources for inventory development, branding, and so on. To give you an idea as to the prowess that the Carolinas has with regard to energy innovation, a couple of examples. How many are familiar with Net Power? So Net Power has developed I think it's a 50 megawatt facility in LaPorte, Texas, that consumes natural gas, and it basically has no smokestack to produce power. So there is no carbon that comes out of that plant. It's captured, goes into a pipeline, it's used for enhanced oil recovery. Net Power is headquartered in Durham, North Carolina, and its principal collaborators are energy production, energy engineering, procurement, and construction companies that are based in the Carolinas. Albemarle, how many are familiar with Albemarle? Albemarle Lithium, headquartered in Charlotte, is the world's largest purveyor of lithium chemical products and derivatives. They're right here. All kinds of all kinds of energy research that goes on in Charlotte associated with that company. Atom Power, how many know that story? Okay. University of North Carolina at Charlotte, they have developed the world's first and only solid-state circuit breaker. What this means is rather than having a circuit breaker that you flip back and forth in your house when it breaks, it's an app on your phone that can basically program the power that operates in your house. Reset it by your phone. NuScale Power, how many familiar with that? Okay. It's the nation's leading small modular reactor company. Its staff is here in North Carolina. It's owned by Fluor, which is down in South Carolina. Ingersoll Rand? Couple? A leader in building energy efficiency technology right here in the Carolinas. It's global headquarters in Davidson. So, I could give you a list of 100 of these where you go, oh my gosh, all this amazing activity is right here in the Carolinas. So the big message is we have huge potential with regard to becoming the energy innovation leader. We already are producing amazing energy innovators, and our plan is out in September, and I think it aligns very well with the work that you're doing here. So thank you very much.
Thanks, David. I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions for David while we have him.
David, any talk, Andrews hydropower, pumped hydro, there's been discussion of them bringing something from Carolina to Atlanta. Have you heard anything with pumped hydro and other non-battery storage technologies coming here?
So small projects, Dominion has a very large one in Virginia.
Yeah.
So not here in the Carolinas, fortunately. And as you know, the issue with pump storage, any kind of hydro-based activity, other than run a stream, is land. So just capturing the land mass and employing that to provide the impoundment.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you have an understanding of why Net Power's demo facilities in Texas and not in North Carolina?
Absolutely. The key to Net Power's production is to have carbon dioxide offtake. And in Texas, Louisiana, there's a carbon dioxide pipeline system that fuels the enhanced oil recovery fields. So their CO2 is going into a pipeline, it's going to West Texas, pumped into the ground to produce oil from declining oil fields. Now, there are a number of applications that are being developed to convert CO2 into a useful product. And when you can couple one of those to their plant, they'll be able to put their plant anywhere. But right now, the low-hanging fruit is to connect it to a CO2 pipeline.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Maybe a little bit of a golf clap for David.